One of the biggest things that we preach when it comes to any athlete in college, especially on the Campbellsville men's volleyball team, is that an expectation could quite literally be your biggest downfall. I know it sounds crazy because a lot of the times we take expectations and we associate them with standards and we associate them with an identity and we associate them with a desire and where we want to be. But so often expectation truly can be one of your greatest enemies. My name is Caleb.
I'm Jenny.
And this is Begin Again, stories rooted in transformation. And so if you're new here, we are a podcast that focuses solely on transformation and what it looks like, the qualities of it, and honestly how it plays out in our day-to-day. And so today we're going to be talking about, if you haven't guessed it yet, expectations. And throughout this journey, expectations are going to be something that you can utilize, but you have to have a mature approach about it. An expectation that is specific can be dangerous. It can be limiting. An expectation that is rooted in a lie can also be dangerous. It can also be limiting. And an expectation that is rooted in lack of confidence can also be dangerous and can also be limiting. So expectation is something that really has to be learned through so many other factors. And so it's safe to say that expectations are difficult.
Yeah. You know, the last part you said hit me. Expectations that are rooted in lack of confidence can be very, very dangerous, and they are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, that's something that I struggle with a lot.
Yeah.
This very podcast speaking,
Mm-hmm.
it's so hard for me.
Mm-hmm. And that's okay. And, you know, going back to that situation that we're referring to, you know, this isn't easy. And so authenticity, which is next week's theme. You got that? You gonna write it down? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
It's right here.
Oh, you sure? Okay. But, you know, authenticity is important. You know, we talk about vulnerability as well. And so I think it's, you know, it's safe to say that today was a bit hard for you. And you put yourself in a rock and a hard spot today, you know? And it's not easy. But on the one end, you struggle with confidence. And on the other end, you struggle with letting me down. And you get so caught up in that you think that some of the things that I say are, you know, that they come with like maybe an ulterior motive, right? And that is because you have set this expectation where if you don't meet it, it's very easy to project that onto other people, right? And so in the therapy world, we call that transference. But that's the thing about this, is that when you set an expectation, there's a big risk there, especially when the expectation is not rooted in logic, you know. And so yeah, this podcast definitely is something that was hard for you today, you know. But that's because you had an expectation that this podcast was supposed to be easy, or you were supposed to enjoy doing it every single day.
All the time.
Yeah. But I think that's the beauty in transformation. If we only did things on the days that we felt like it, we'd be fired,
Yeah.
you know, quickly. So, yeah, transformation is not easy. And expectations are what make it so hard. So, when you think of expectation, though, I mean, like, what comes to your mind?
First thing that came to my mind was actually something that you said to me very early on in our running journey. And I was complaining about having to run in 30-degree weather. And you said, no, this is your standard. This is your new standard. This is the standard, is what you said to me. So I think that while it's dangerous to create specific expectations, I still think they're important.
Yeah.
But when, like you said, it's rooted in lack of confidence or
Too much
fear,
confidence.
or even just
yeah.
rooted in fear,
Yeah.
like that fear of failure that we've talked about so many times,
Mm-hmm.
when failure is inevitable.
Yeah.
And we cannot be afraid of failure.
Yeah.
We have to embrace failure.
Absolutely.
But I that's so hard for me because, like, I don't want to let you down. I don't want to let myself down either. And like running or like, you know, doing this when I am not in the mental headspace to do it. If I were to choose not to do it, I would feel like I was letting myself down. I would feel like I was failing. Like I'm not meeting my expectation.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good point, though. Expectations can serve as an accountability thing.
Right.
You know? And so in a sense, yeah, expectations can be a good thing in that regard. If I have an expectation to run a marathon, but I'm not getting out and doing the things to complete a marathon, then I'm not meeting an expectation. But if running a marathon wasn't something that I was expecting myself to do, getting up and not running would suddenly be meaningless.
Sure.
Or, you know what I'm saying? There wouldn't be any value to not doing something.
Right.
So expectations, they set a standard. Mm-hmm. They serve as an accountability partner when done the correct way, that bring value to not doing something. They add value to not doing something. Because a goal without an expectation gives so much room for quitting.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and quitting is the real failure.
Quitting is the societal definition of failure.
Right.
You know, and I think that that is the expectation of failure, is quitting. You know, so I think one thing that I've realized is talking about expectations. We had a 19-0 start, you know, and everybody was, I mean, you should have heard it. Everybody at the school, everybody outside the school, in the community. I was hearing things from people in the community. Oh man, you guys are looking good. Looks like you guys are going to go undefeated this year and all that stuff. And we just told them, like, hey, we're just focused on one game at a time. And everybody set that expectation. I don't know if I said it to you. I said it to somebody. I can't remember who I said it to. But I said, I've actually heard from more people after we took our first loss than I ever did when we were on a winning streak. And that's because people had set an expectation for us and we didn't meet it.
Right.
And so then they felt like reaching out. Versus people are louder when you fail. because people pay more attention to how you're going to respond after your failure.
Right.
And so that's what they wanted. They saw that we failed, and then everybody came out of the
woodwork.
The woodwork, yeah. And then now all eyes are on us, and we responded in a good way.
Definitely.
But
it's almost like you needed that little bump in the road.
Yeah.
To right before you went and played Georgetown.
That's right. But let's talk about that too. Because I think if we had set a standard for undefeated, if we had gone into every game with that mindset, the first loss would have made the rest of it pointless. So that's why you got to be careful with expectation. Because if my goal was to never, which it is my goal, I know I made it a goal, but actually in running this week, I've kind of recognized, okay, let me slow my roll down here. And I'll talk about that here in a second. I said I never wanted to skip a day of marathon training. That was my expectation, right? I have 120 days that I have to do something towards running every single day. What if I miss a day? I set that expectation for myself. What if I miss a day?
Right. Do you quit?
That whole goal has gone to waste. So going back to the marathon example, if my goal is to run a marathon, I can't say I never want to skip a day up until the marathon. I could get to the final month and miss a day. And do you know what that does? That makes the whole thing a failure. But if I say I'm going to run a marathon and I'm going to accomplish that thing, if I miss a day, I can still wake up and feel driven to continue the progression. So that's why expectations are, you've got to understand that expectations, yes, they're standard, yes, they hold us accountable, but when they are very specific, they can lead to our idea of like bad failure.
Right. Which it's kind of like me with my weight loss journey. So I had this expectation that I would lose 2 pounds every single week. And we are almost at the end of March. And so I should have lost 30 pounds by now, but I've only lost 17. And so I'm extremely frustrated by that. And I have almost completely quit a few times, probably, to be specific, 2 times. And I had to pray very hard that I don't make this journey like every other weight loss journey I've done in the last 10 years of my life. Mm-hmm. And that I do not allow myself to quit.
Yep. I'm the same way. It's been kind of frustrating. Again, because you get to these 120 days and you set an expectation.
Yeah.
I was expecting to get back to my peak physique, if you will, when back in December. But I have to realize, come on now, you suffered an injury. You weren't able to run for 2 months.
Right.
Lifting got really painful. I went through a bad spell mentally. You were there. You saw it, And so, I had to recognize, okay, this doesn't make me weak. This just means that I've set an expectation for myself that, not that it wasn't attainable, but it gave me no room for error.
Right.
Going into these 120 days. It gave me no room for error. So I'm stepping on the scale, and it's like 1 pound, then I go up 2 pounds, and my body composition doesn't look as where I want it to be at, and all that stuff. And I'm like, now hold on. It hasn't even been 20 days, or it's just been 20 days.
So are you saying that we need to maybe set more realistic expectations for ourselves?
More general expectations.
Okay.
Not so specific. I think that's one thing that I've learned running this week.
Yeah.
I look at my watch a lot because I'm checking my heart rate, because I'm checking the time, because I'm checking where I'm at in the distance, because I'm checking okay, I'm running up a hill, what's my heart rate, doing all that stuff. And then subconsciously I can feel it because I have in the Like in my core, I can feel this. I'm bothered by something, and so I know I'm doing it subconsciously. I'm looking at my watch and I'm bothered by it. Why? Because I'm trying to compare those numbers to what I was at, and I can't do that because at one point I was running 18 miles a day.
Right.
Right. So I'm like, those numbers aren't going to be the same. But I have this expectation now that I've created for myself.
Sure.
And so I'm sitting there looking at my watch. I'm like, what the heck? I'm running at a 10-minute pace and my heart rate's at a 160. Like, what is going on here? You know, when in the past I was running at 930 in a zone 2. And so I'm like, I'm frustrated, but I'm like, why are you frustrated? Oh, I know why I'm frustrated. Because I've set an expectation for myself, a specific expectation.
Yeah. And I think that also when we've set expectations, we need to be careful not to set an expectation based on, society standards or, comparing ourselves to maybe a peer or setting that expectation because our journeys are all unique.
Yeah, I think, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say that expectations are definitely relative.
Right.
They're relative to yourself. They're relative to at the societal level. This is a word that can also be very dangerous because when they are no longer relative, now you think you've got to conform to this societal standard so that you can meet the expectations that society has for you. So if your goal is to be a healthier person, and then you're going based off societal standards and say, okay, well, being healthy equals being skinny. Well, we got to slow down because now you're setting yourself up for eating disorders. I mean, that's an extreme, but it's true. Like, it happens. People think, oh, be healthy. That means I have to be like...
Or a specific number, shooting for a specific number.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's so many different body types between men or women, right? And even stature makes a difference. Someone that is taller is going to weigh more naturally.
Yeah, that's
right?
true. Yeah, for sure.
And I think we focus too much on the number.
Yeah.
Versus being truly healthy.
And then you know what happens, and I might get some hate for this, but this is our podcast, so we can really say it if we want to.
Uh-oh, I'm afraid.
No, it's nothing that bad. I'm just being dramatic. But a big problem that we see in the, how do I say this, larger community is that there is this societal expectation for what healthy looks like.
Right.
And so it can be hard for somebody who is bigger to see that and then just automatically think like, oh, well, that's the standard. I'm not going to get there. So let me just embrace the skin that I'm in.
Right.
And what have they done? They have now limited themselves. And so now what society has done is they have said that this is what being fit means. Here's the body type that being fit is. And if you're not fit or you're bigger, that's good. That's okay too. And it's put this person in a box and it's put this person in a box. Why is this person limited just like this person? Because now this person thinks they can't look anything else other than that body type. Like you said, men and women. Now I don't think men struggle with it as much.
Sure.
Because I think that naturally, we talked about it a little bit. Men are just a little bit dumber, and so like if we want something, like the societal whatever doesn't mean anything. Like we really don't have the energy to pay attention to that. But I think women, because they are emotionally more intelligent, right? A lot of that can get projected onto like, okay, well, I just need to be happy with myself. When in reality, that's a projection because society said this is what it has to look like and you don't look like this, so just be happy with who you are. And know that there is empowerment and change
Right.
but also know that the societal expectation is not relative to you. It's not. Everybody's on their own journey,
Sure.
you know? And that's the important thing about expectation. So expectation is relative,
Mm-hmm.
and you cannot listen to societal standards because it puts you in a box in every single way.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to get canceled for that, right?
I don't think so.
Okay. I
You said it fairly kind.
I said it how I genuinely feel. So, do you have any stories about like a time where expectation kind of either ruled your life, or maybe you looked at another expectation and said, "Oh, well, that's like I'm never gonna get there."
I mean, I guess kind of what I touched upon, weight loss. Yeah, I guess I would just say weight loss, where I have this expectation in my head that I am supposed to hit a certain number by a certain time. And if I don't meet that goal the first time, well, just give up because you're never going to get there. Or, I scour social media at all these fitness influencers, and I'm like, oh, I'm never going to get like that. I'm never going to look like that. So what's the point of even trying?
Which, by the way, those people, like, there's a reason that they're taking pictures in a gym, because you do look your best after a workout, right? But social media has made it so easy to clip things, and put on a different lifestyle,
Right. Well, and yeah, it could be very easily a facade, and we don't know it. And there's also been lots of gym influencers that have been discovered to have had plastic surgery done.
Oh yeah, not natural. I mean,
Right.
steroids, like.
Or, right, exactly. Or use steroids. And of course, they don't divulge that information. So I'm here comparing myself to this expectation or this standard, and it's not even authentic.
Yeah, it's false. Yeah, it's a false standard.
Yeah.
Because they've gone in and modified their physique.
Right.
That's just in weight loss. I mean, it happens everywhere. If you see somebody on social media who's, flexing this and that, that's what we're seeing on social media. But I mean, the reality is they could be struggling financially.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's we made jokes about that all the time on the team last year, when we would go to like Airbnb and stay in Miami. And you get those like influencers on the internet, like,
Yeah.
if you just buy my course, you can live like this too. And it's like, yeah, you probably just went to California and rented an Airbnb for a couple of nights.
Exactly.
Like, you don't actually own that stuff. Like, people do that.
Oh, yeah.
But it sets
It's like a false narrative that
It
they
is.
portray. And if you compare yourself to others, you can very easily set false expectations for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There's so much danger in comparison because you're no longer living for yourself.
Right.
You're living for the approval of somebody else. And that is extremely dangerous to the transformation process. Because then you're going to start doing things that won't benefit you whatsoever.
Right.
And so, yeah, expectations really are relative,
Do you have a story that you want to share with us?
I mean, I've got a lot of stories. Just being an athlete, you always find yourself comparing. It's very easy to compare. But I think maybe one thing, maybe not just that I struggle with, but what a lot of Christians struggle with is comparing their Christianity to that of somebody else's. And so you could maybe see a Christian doing something and be quick to judge them for
Sure.
it. But you've got to be careful. I mean, the Bible's very clear about that, about judging others, and how do I say this? Because the Bible talks about brotherly judgment and how that's a good thing, but then the Bible also talks about judgment in the sense of like be careful judging somebody else. What is it? What is it? The plank. What is it?
Yeah, to pluck the is it the plank or the thorn out of your eye?
I can't remember. I don't want to say it because I don't
Yeah.
want to. I don't want to be wrong about it. But basically, what it's saying is like don't be so quick to judge somebody else when you have your own flaws. Is kind of
Sure.
what it's saying. And so I think it's easy to do that sometimes. But yeah, maybe a specific example would have to be when I was at Bluefield. My life wasn't where I wanted it to be at, and a lot of things were going wrong. A lot. It was just I feel like it was one wrong thing after the next, and so I stopped living for myself. I stopped the healing process because that would have forced me to like live with my own issues, if you will, and I started to seek the expectations of others. So I was kind of just I feel like I was acting a little bit out of my character, when I was lost because I had such a low self-esteem that I felt that somebody else's expectation was much greater than mine. And so I lived for that and I lost my identity because I wasn't living for my own relative expectations, rather that of somebody else's. So I think that would probably be a really good example. And then I came here and I kind of learned what that word meant, and I learned that I'm my own person. Like you said, everybody's unique. And so everybody has their own expectation.
Right.
Or should. And so, yeah, I was really able to hone in on who it is that I am. And then I was able to start setting expectations. And I'm still learning, right? I'm still learning, clearly. Because we've learned that you can't be specific. You have to be general with your expectations and leave room for error and failure,
Right. So setting an expectation of perfection is probably one of the most dangerous things you can do.
Yeah, that's called OCD.
Yeah, I do it so much to myself to the point that it causes this like anxiety that I've had it in. I don't know why. But I had told Caleb I barely slept the last 3 days. I've been waking up, I don't know, like 2 or 3 times at night. And I mean, there's like a lot of stuff going on in my head, but it all is rooted in this expectation that I have for myself of perfection, because I know I can't attain it. I cannot attain perfection because I am not no one's perfect, but I still set this expectation of perfection knowing I cannot attain perfection, and use it as a crutch to allow myself to fall or fail and quit. So for me, it's a daily battle to give myself room for error.
Well, it sounds like that might be another really good point that I would love to think more on. And tell me what you think, but like maybe that expectations are setting high expectations give us an excuse to not do things to the best of our abilities.
Yeah.
So for somebody who has anxiety, saying like, oh, I'll never ever have an anxiety attack ever again, or I'll never let it get the best of me ever again. And the moment it gets the best of you, or knowing that that's not true,
Right.
so that when it does get the best of you, it kind of gives you a reason to just, blame it on something else, or maybe take the easy way out.
Right. Yeah, we use it as a scapegoat for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Setting that high expectation, that really high bar. Like you said, well, I'll just never be perfect anyway, so I might as well just give up. When in reality, you setting that expectation was giving you room to give up the second you created it.
Right.
So maybe there could be a little bit of that in setting extreme expectations as well.
Sure. I think high expectations shouldn't be the issue, because you've said this so many times. You've talked so many times about creating a dream that feels unattainable.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it pushes you that much harder to make that dream happen,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I don't think that setting the high expectation is necessarily an issue. I think the issue is created when we don't allow ourselves room for error, and
Yep.
therefore
Correct.
I choose to quit because, well, I'm not going to attain that anyways.
Yeah. So you make a great example. My biggest dream is this addiction farm, right? Is that a dream that I feel is so big that it's unattainable? Yes. Did I say, though, that my dream is to open up a farm next year? No, because that's impossible. Literally. I'm swimming in student loan debt. So that's impossible. And so that's what you're referring to, and that's where that's where expectations become really important for setting those big dreams,
Yeah.
I've got a perfect example, but I can't say it, unfortunately. But I'll just be really general with it, actually. There was this individual who told me, next year I'm going to get on the Grand Club. I said, okay. So the Grand Club is like getting 1,000 of something. I was like, okay. I like that. That's a good goal, except for one problem. You're the 5th out of 4 people in your position. So I'm confused. How are you going to get 1,000 of anything? You haven't played a single set this year. So how are you going to get 1,000 next year? I'm just going to do it. Okay, let's look. Come on, let's be honest. Let's be realistic here, right? So in that sense, that's bad. That's a bad dream, because it's not statistically possible, to get especially in that specific position. It's just not possible.
Right.
So it's like, okay, now you've set an expectation so high for yourself that when you even have a sliver of a hint that, like, oh, that's not going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
boom, you can make a million excuses as to why it's not going to happen. And so, yeah, when you set a dream so big that that it doesn't feel obtainable, but also set an expectation that matches that mountain,
Right.
I do believe that I'll have this addiction farm, but no time soon. No time soon. But it's going to happen. So, yes, expectations have to be realistic, and they have to be rooted in logic and confidence, but not too much confidence. So, there's a philosopher, I can't remember who it was exactly, but they talk about vice and virtue. On one end, I think it's vice is one extreme, and virtue is the other extreme. And he talks about having a balance of good and bad, of vice and virtue. That balance is what creates a good, solid foundation for success in any area of life. But if you do one too much, it's not good. And if you do the other too much, it's also not good. So just having a good balance of vice and virtue is extremely important in expectation. So
Yeah, I think that is important because we we need to be able to leave ourselves a little bit of room for error because we're not perfect. We're gonna make mistakes. You know, I might have a bad day. I might have a bad day. Eat over my caloric intake. Is that gonna mess up the progress for the entire week? Am I gonna gain a pound because I ate one bad meal?
Right.
No. Am I gonna give up on my weight loss journey just because I ate one bad meal?
Right.
No.
Right.
Am I gonna give up because I missed one workout? No.
Correct. And I think you bring a great point up. Ready? This is called a what? A 120 day. Right. A 120 day challenge. This isn't called a 120 day cakewalk. Like, that's not what this is, right?
Challenges are made to be difficult.
Yes. They are literally set up for you to fail.
Yeah.
They want you to give it your best shot.
And by the way, when I went into this challenge, I was sort of freaking out. And this is something that you've taught me. So I was freaking out because I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to be perfect for 120 days. What's the point of even trying to do 120 days? I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail miserably. And I set my goals. One of them was no alcohol. One of them was eating whole foods every single day. Another one was hitting 10,000 steps every single day. Doing some form of physical activity every single day. Reading every day. I didn't give myself a specific amount, but reading every day so that I would finish a book in 30 days. Meaning I would read 3 books. Four. I would read 4 books. Can I tell you that I failed at almost every single one of those at least once?
I'm so glad you said that.
And wait, I'm sorry. And normally, I would have beaten myself up to the core about this. And just been literally sick to my stomach to the point that I just gave up and said, screw this damn challenge.
Mm-hmm.
But I remembered that in the beginning of the challenge, when we were talking about the goals that we were going to set, you said, and I forget which one specifically, and I was like, Caleb, come on, there's no way you're going to be able to actually complete 120 days. And he's like, well, I'm going to fail, but I'm not afraid of failure.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, because that helped me show myself a little bit of grace.
Yeah.
So that's where that balance comes in.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I'm glad you said that because I came in with the opposite approach. And I said, for 120 days, I'm not missing a single day. I'm not going to miss a single day. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And I promise, I'm not going to miss a single day. And guess what? Guess what?
What?
Usually when somebody says guess what, that means you guess.
You didn't miss a single day, or you did?
That's not a guess.
That's a guess.
No.
Because I could be right or wrong on either.
Yeah, you got to guess.
Okay, I'm going to guess that you did miss one day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How many to be specific?
Maybe 5.
Okay.
Or 6.
And we're 20
days in.
22.
22 days in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, and I think I have failed at just about every single one of my goals. Yep.
But we're not giving up. We're going to stick it out until the last day, July 2nd.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But again, remember, vice and virtue. Oh, I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail. You failed. Oh, I'm not going to fail. I'm not going to fail. I'm not going to fail. I failed.
Right.
You know? And so maybe there's some truth to that.
Right.
But here's the most important thing. When we get to day 1, we're going to be proud that we still accomplished this challenge. Because as long as those numbers are getting erased, it means that we've acknowledged that we are still in it.
Yeah.
We are still in it. And at the end of it, even if we failed miserably and missed more days than we didn't, guess what? Failure is feedback.
Right.
We will go back. We will take notes. We will reflect. We will journal. We will meditate.
Yep.
We will take a couple days off to pray about and to really gain wisdom in what went wrong. Where did we go wrong? How do we do this 120-day challenge over again and do it better?
Right.
And that's transformation. But that's setting a balanced expectation as well.
Exactly.
So expectations, they don't guarantee you a win or a loss. They just define wins and losses. If I'm expecting to never miss a single day, and I do, I lose. But if my goal is to get to the end of the 120 days and I miss a couple days, I win.
Still win.
So expectations don't determine whether you win or lose. They just define winning and losing. And that's why it's so important to, one, understand expectation, and to, two, set them properly. And if you can do those two things, transformation becomes a win no matter what.
Absolutely.
So, today we are erasing day 98.
Which means we have
97 more
97 to
days.
go.
Yeah.